Hey everyone, good morning. Y'all, it's time for this affirmation. It is time for the affirmation. When you get into the room, let me know you're here. Let me know you're here. I am excited to talk with you guys. I am excited to share this affirmation with you guys. Oh, are the saints already on and sharing it? I love it when my saints is on. Let me tell you. All right. Let me know you're in the room. Let me know that you're watching. I am excited to have this conversation with you guys. All right. Just so that we can level set, my name is Allison, and I am one of the leaders here for Your Living Unfiltered. And we are here to bring the affirmation this morning. I will grow in favor with God and with men. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to get on because it is Saturday morning. And if your mornings are anything like mine on Saturday, it's a lot of rest. It's a lot of sleep. Okay. But let me know you're in the room. Let me know that you're here. I definitely want to get started on this affirmation and tell y'all all the good stuff that I got to talk about today. But while I wait, I am going to, yeah, there we go. I'm going to run through our announcements so that by the time that you guys get on, we can get started, okay? So, forms. We have a bunch of forms, y'all. We do. We have a form for celebrations where we listen for your highlights. We listen for what is going on with you, any accomplishment that you want recognized. We want to recognize you with. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything that you want us to know, want us to celebrate with you, fill out our celebration form. That includes accomplishments for you. That includes accomplishments for your kids. That includes birthdays. It includes, did you make it through the day? You made it through the day and you want to celebrate it. We want to celebrate it with you. So please go to our Living Unfiltered page. If you're not already on there, what are you doing? My plug. But if you're not on there, go on there, join the group, join the community, fill out the forms so that we can celebrate you. We look to celebrate you because that's what we do in community. Also, while we're on it, 2x2 is still going really strong. If you know a person who knows a person who knows a person who knows a person, let them come in, invite them so they could get this work and they can do the healing work with you and you can build your personal community. Because what is a better thing than being in community with somebody and you're both getting healed and you're both growing? Okay. Do you have a favorite affirmation? Like the one affirmation that does your heart so well? If so, we are looking for testimonies about how the affirmations have impacted your life, how they've helped you to grow, how they have helped you to do new and different things in life. So we're looking for 30-second video testimonies for those who want to give it to us. And if so, just record the testimony and send it to our email address. Also, if you haven't been here, if you haven't been around, the unfiltered Living Unfiltered group, we have a workbook and a devotional. It is the official unfiltered devotional and workbook that come together, and they are out for pre-order and they're out for sale now. So you can go into our link tree that will be pinned throughout this video and get a copy of the workbook and the devotional so that it can bless your life in real time. Okay, those are the announcements. Those are your church announcements for today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this affirmation. All right, so the affirmation for today is I will grow in favor with God and with man. I will grow in favor with God and with man. If you see me moving stuff, I'm trying to get to my notes because This affirmation was very much so different. Good morning, Candace. How are you, boops? It was very different for me, piecing together or putting or like allowing the Lord to really sit with me and speak to me with this affirmation. This affirmation actually came from a very different spot than a normal affirmations do for me. And normally it's just like, God, what do you want me to say? And he's like, boom, right there. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then we wrestle with it and we talk it through. And then I'm like, okay, I have a good understanding of what you want, like showing me, and then I can show the other folks. But this one did not happen like that. I'm going to tell you up front, it didn't happen like that. This affirmation actually slow rolled me differently. Like I had mentioned on our Monday morning walkthrough, or our Monday, I want Monday walkthrough. I I was sitting at home one day and I had this really immense attack. Hey TK. I had this really immense of attack and it just came out of nowhere. I had been praying and sitting with the Lord with a lot of things, and just one day taking groceries, about to make some French toast, and I get hit in the face with this huge attack. And the attack really clouded my mind. It made me believe, or it was trying to make me believe, I should say, that I wasn't loved, I wasn't cared for, that nobody was in my corner. And this attack was very much so complex because it also tried to play into the way that the Lord speaks and downloads things into me directly. So it wasn't just like I'm hearing things or I'm seeing things, I'm having visions of people rejecting me as well. And I'm having visions because I do see and I do dream. I'm having these dreams or these thoughts that people are going to reject me and they haven't. And so it overwhelmed me emotionally. It overwhelmed me to the point where I was upset and I was going to sit and stay in it by myself. I was like, okay, if this is true, then I don't have no help. I have no space. I have no anything. And I need to kind of figure this out and I need to sit with the Lord. And even my thoughts were kind of like, yeah, there's nobody there to help you. So you might as well just figure it out by yourself. And for those who know me, they know that is something that the Lord is actually breaking me out of because I used to sit for days. I've talked about it. I would sit for days and be like, well, last week the enemy came and tried me in my mind for like 5 days, but I figured it out. And so I had to use the tools that I had to reach out to community and for community to have room to come in to show me some things. And so after all of this, I'm sitting there and I'm talking with my friends and I'm like, I'm just gonna go watch Lord of the Rings. Y'all, when I say the Lord of the Rings spoke to me on a different level altogether. And what I got, yes, and say nothing until it was over, literally. But while I was watching Lord of the Rings, I saw the scene that I had put up, and I'm like, "Yo, that was me." Like, that was my mind or my flesh or the suggestive thoughts, as we call them, trying to tell me that I was not good. And that thing got me so together when at the end of it, like, it was Schmeagol, which was the Hobbit versus Gollum, which was the sin or the iniquity or the spirit that had come to idolatrize the ring and its power and its potential and all stuff. And that's a different story for another day. That'll talk on its own, but that's not what we're talking about today. But it was this fight, it was this internal struggle against the lies that they had been told or were telling themselves versus what they had been shown from friends and family and community. And so, like, you see Schmeagol, like, no, but Master loves us. Master's gonna take care of us. And Gollum's like, but they're only doing it for this. And Schmeagol's like, I'm tired of this. Like, you're not gonna talk to me no more. You're gonna leave me. And Gollum is like, "You don't mean it." And Smeagol's like, "Yes, I do. Like, you leave." And when Gollum left, you saw Smeagol have a whole party. Like, he's gone, he's gone. He's jumping around. He's doing all the stuff, right? And he's like, "I can't believe I told him to leave and he left." Baby, that thing got me together, right? And so I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and I am having this whole emotional moment because I'm like, that is literally how I felt earlier today. And it wasn't because Schmiegel had been shown something different, that he was even able to get the opportunity to see that life did not have to be this way and life didn't have to change. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, like you're obviously talking through Lord of the Rings. Not surprised. But like, how does this translate? Right? Because right after that, saw the affirmation. I was like, oh, very simple. Like, that's what the Lord is, that's where we're at this week, right? And so, as I went into this week with this affirmation, speaking this affirmation over myself, having conversations about this affirmation over myself, and my friends and my community, and all the things the Lord showed me a plethora of things, and he's still showing me things. So I am going to very, very much so slowly walk this and give you guys what I have, but understand that this is coming from a place where I am also still receiving while I am learning. So I'm gonna need y'all to like bear with me today, okay? Thank you very much in advance. So the first thing I did was I had I like to break down stuff. And so I did a breakdown of the affirmation itself via definition. So if you look up the definition of grow, it means a plethora of things, y'all, a plethora of things, but I got a few. So it means to undergo natural development by increasing in size and changing physically. It can mean to become larger or greater over a period of time. It could mean to, well, it does mean produced by cultivation, to come to feel or know something over time, um, to pass into a condition, right? To pass into a condition. So all of those definitions are for grow, and grow in different manners or grow in different ways that you can use the verb. So we have that. When you look at it in the Bible, right, there are two words that are used for grow. It's shamaj, which means to sprout or to spring up, and then it's dagar, which I'm not pronouncing correctly, but work with it. Okay, and it means to increase or multiply. So that is just grow, not any of these other. It's just grow. So then when we look at favor, favor means a friendly regard shown towards another, especially by a superior, or it can mean partiality, leniency, permission. It could mean approving consideration or attention. And then I was like, okay, great, but what does it mean in the Bible? And y'all, that's when things got interesting, because we have an understanding of favor. We have an understanding of what favor looks like for us, right? Well, most of us have an understanding of what favor looks like, but we don't necessarily understand the massive role that favor plays when it comes to talking about what the Lord does and how he does it. So I went looking in the Bible and I'm like, I need a definition for favor, right? And I got one, but I also saw some commonalities. And so when I was looking in the Bible and I was looking at the word favor and all of the words that came with it, the word that I found the most was found favor. And I'm like, found favor. Like every scripture that I have seen, it literally was like, Lord, if I have found favor with you, bop, 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 or Lord, since I have sought favor with you, or Lord, if you have seen me to have found favor, it was always found favor, regardless of how many scriptures I looked up. Found in favor were paired together, and I'm like, okay, let's walk it out, right? And so, as I started to look through the scriptures for found favor, I decided to look up what the definition for found was before I tell y'all what the Lord showed me about this whole thing, right? Okay, so found means, y'all ready? To cause to find or to attain, to cause light upon, right? To cause light upon, to be found in a place or happen to be in a place, to be discovered or detected, to learn or devise or to find out, to find, secure, acquired, or like a thing sought. Um, and so I was like, okay, so we're not just talking about something that the Lord gives. We're talking about something that can be obtained or attained. It's something that you have to find, it has to be sought out. And so when you pair this word with the word favor, you're now having a new understanding that favor is something that is sought, or you have to seek it, or you have to obtain it, or you have to get wisdom and knowledge and understanding about it to get it, right? So when I looked up the word favor, it was very simple. It was favor, grace, charm, and elegance, right? And in the Old Testament, favor and grace are used interchangeably in many of the different scriptures. So we're now talking about not just favor, we're talking about grace and favor and finding grace and favor, right? So I say all of this, right? Because we're talking about growing in favor with God and with man, but what does that look like? I said, well, Lord, how do I find favor? You know, like we sing the songs, we talk about the stuff, but Lord, how do we find favor? And then how can we use that to grow, to sprout up, to accelerate in God and in man? Those were the questions I had for the Lord. I'm like, break it down, tell me what's going on. Yeah, the Lord showed me a bunch of things. The first thing that He showed me, the first scripture that I went to was actually in Genesis. And it was right after God had changed Abram's name to Abraham, and He had changed Sarai's name to Sarah. And whew, He had just made the covenant with them that He would multiply them, that He would make Abraham the father of many nations, right? And we don't really see it in the Bible, but literally the next chapter after that in Genesis is where Abraham now sees God walking with some men, and he says to him, Lord, if I have found favor in you, like, do not pass away, do not depart from me. Let me cook you some food and let's chop it up a bit. That is that conversation. So even though a lot of contextual evidence is not given at the time, but a significant amount of time has passed since the Lord has made this covenant with Abraham and his wife about multiplying and being the father of many generations. And now he sees him again. And the Lord has told him in many ways, I'm going to give you a son, I'm going to give you an heir. And from this, your fruit, you will be father of many generations. And a significant amount of time has passed and this has not happened. This covenant has not came about. And now we're also seeing, like, physically, that when that covenant was made, there was a possibility of, oh, cool, I'm teaching, whoops. Thank you. So it has been a significant amount of time that has now passed in between when God gave Abraham this covenant. Hey, Jabrea, God had given Abraham this covenant, and then Abraham had actually seen God at this moment. And like later on in this chapter that I'm talking about, this is also the chapter now where God circles the block and says, hey, Abraham, that covenant I gave you, like, I didn't forget about it. You finna have your son. Like, you're gonna have him. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, Lord, like, you're showing me all of this stuff. You're showing me how in the chapter before you changed his name, how in this chapter he is asking you, like, if I found favor with you, just come and sit and talk with me. And in this chapter, you are now telling them that they are going to have a son. I saw that. I also saw when it came to a lot of the scriptures, when it asked if the Lord, if they had found favor with the Lord, it was also when they were entering into a time where they would see the Lord or feel his presence, and they wanted to ask him or seek, like, Lord, if I have found favor in you, show me you. Or if I have found favor in you, show me this. Or if I have found favor in you, let me feel or see that, right? So it started to be this very strong sense of found favor, right? And found favor coming before the petition. And normally the petition being a show of his self, a show of his character, or a showing of his might, right? That is what I started to see. And I'm like, okay, Lord, like, you're showing the folks you, because that's showing the folks you was a heavy way of showing favor in that time, especially when we understand that favor is most of the time shown from somebody who is higher than us or higher than the person, and favor is shown to somebody below that stature or that status. So the Lord is now showing me all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I have an understanding that favor is now found, or favor can be sought out. um Favor is coming from somebody who is above me, not beneath me, but it has to come from somebody in a status that is higher than me. And in that status, leniency is shown, partiality is shown, grace can be shown in some cases. And so it can also be a showing up of somebody's personal self. Cool. I had a bunch of questions though. So I'm like, knowing all of this now, like, how do I find favor? How do I grow in favor? Like, and then, there is wealth in favor. Like, what is all of this, Lord? Help me to understand this. So then the Lord begins to show me in the scriptures that, continuing with, my stories, of course, he brings me to Elizabeth. He brings me to the story of Elizabeth, who was also promised a kid. And when Elizabeth finally had gotten pregnant, she she didn't necessarily handle it in a gracious manner. She hid her pregnancy for 5 months. She thought she was too old to have she thought she was too old to have a baby. She thought that it wasn't the right time because it wasn't her time, but it was the Lord's time. And so it was during this time period that, a couple of months later, Mary gets pregnant with Jesus. And so when the same angel that came to Elizabeth goes to Mary and says, "You have found favor with the Lord. Like, don't be afraid, but you're going to have a baby and you're going to name him Jesus." And Mary is like, "What is this? Like, what's going on? How did I find this favor? Like, what's up?" And so the Lord continued to show me that even in that, like, the Lord used Mary's favor to actually bless Elizabeth, because the thing that Elizabeth wanted, she got. But the understanding that she had of her son at the time, like, he was going to be like a prophet that people thought were funny and have this great anointing of the Lord, but he wasn't going to be liked. And because he wasn't going to be liked, they probably weren't going to be liked. And even though it was great favor within the Lord, Elizabeth couldn't see that. Mary, in a similar situation, the Lord telling them that she's found favor in the Lord, she is engaged, unmarried, not nothing has happened sexually between them for a baby to be produced. But now we have a baby coming. And the angel is like, "The Lord has favor with you." And so Mary stood in an understanding of favor, stood in an understanding that even if, like, this doesn't look anything like I have been told it should look, society has not shown me this, but because this angel is saying that I have favor in the Lord, I'm going to stand in it. And so when they get together, when Elizabeth and Mary get together, we see that Elizabeth's belly leaped, the baby leaped in her belly. And it was the first time that you actually see Elizabeth have a positive a positive moment within her pregnancy, a positive understanding that this truly is something that the Lord has done because of the indication of the babies getting close together and the leaping of her belly. And that is when you saw a lot of transference or a lot of a different tune or a change in Elizabeth when it came to her baby, her pregnancy, and everything else that came with it. But it wasn't until she had that understanding that that happened. And I'm like, okay, Lord, right? You're showing me all of this and you're giving me this very great imagery in this picture. Like, where are we going with this? Like, I need to, what am I telling the folks? Like, what are you showing me? What am I telling the folks? Right. So the Lord then began to download into me that huh, favor in itself is sought out, but it isn't sought out in a manner where we actually go seeking favor. We actually go seeking the Lord through a hardship, right? We go seeking the Lord because something has occurred, and because something has occurred, we now are like, okay, Lord, there is a disconnection in my finances. There has been a disconnect in my spirit. There is something going on. Or, Lord, I want to grow more in you. I want to see you. I want to feel you. I want to get to know you more, Lord. And that is where the seek ends up starting. It doesn't start from when we get the answer. The answer is actually a byproduct of the faith that we have, and it's a byproduct of the favor that we find when we go seeking Him. So it's not, the favor isn't something that's necessarily like sprinkled. A lot of the time we have the favor on our lives, but we have to unlock it, and we unlock it through the hardships that we occur. We unlock it through those times when we have to really dig deep into the Lord. And I know that for me that hit hard because the Lord is trying to change how I see hardship. He's trying to change how I see the frustrations or the things that do not work out the way that I wanted to, especially when, you know, I'm gonna talk about me. I know some other folk, but I'm talking about me. I know that for me, sometimes I have this feeling where I believe that because I have done, because I have poured, because I've prayed, because I have done all of this work, because I have went without, that the Lord should just allow some things to just happen. Like I be feeling that way some days. I feel like, I don't always want to fight to be delivered. I don't always want to fight to have to deal with the stuff. I don't, thank you. It's not, thank you. I don't always want to fight the good fight to find the goodness on the other side. In many instances, I feel like it should just show up. And I'm just gonna be prepared and ready. But that's not the case. And that's not necessarily the growth path that the Lord has many of us on. Because if we don't go through the hardship, if we don't go through the process, we really won't be prepared, right? We really won't be equipped and we really won't have it together. So, not only is going through the hardship a level of grace and withholding from us what we want, a level of grace and favor, right? It's actually producing what he needs to see within us so that when we get to the other side, we can then unlock the favor that we wish to see in him answering the thing that we want. And he's not going to answer the thing that we want if we're not prepared for it, because then that would mean that he isn't a good God, because he gave us something that we were ill prepared for, and that is not in his character. He does not set us up to fail. He does not set us up for stuff that we can't handle. But for many of us, we have this mental understanding. We have this mind logic that says that because I failed at this, I must not have been prepped and prepared for this. And because of that, maybe God isn't who I think he is. And that is the lie that the enemy would want us to believe, that we serve a God that is just going to let us fall. And we serve a God that is just not going to let us have what he said we could have. But the grace and the favor is not always just in the answer. It's in the process that we take to get to the answer. But there's even grace and favor in the first place. For many of us who are parents or teachers, it's like giving your child it's giving your child hard foods in their 6 months. It's a setup. You know that baby not gonna be able to eat that. It's it's giving your kids that you teach a test on a subject that you haven't even taught on yet. You know it's not gonna work because you have not walked through the lesson with them. And for many of us, we think that God hasn't shown up because he forgot about our prayer. He didn't hear us. He didn't understand us. That man got sticky notes galore in heaven of our prayers and our asks and what we want and what we need. But what is the process that we have to take? What are we really asking for? And is it something that we can actually handle right now? Like we're seeing who we are now and what that may look like when the Lord gives it to us. But the reality is what we're asking for and the watered down version of it, if we're being really honest, is not anything compared to what the Lord is actually going to give us. And a lot of times what we're asking for isn't what we actually really want. It's what we have perceived that we wanted, but the Lord is gracious enough that He's like, oh, I see what you actually mean. I can translate my child well. What you're actually asking for is this. So I'm going to take you down this path and I'm going to show you some stuff about you and I'm going to reveal some stuff about you. And in all of that breaking and all of that movement and all of that agitation of our soil, the Lord is then showing us, oh, what I really wanted is this. And so now He's fixing our mind and our words to align with what we actually really want. So that by the time that we get it, we're saying thank you for the things that I prayed that you didn't give me because it wasn't what I wanted. And I'm dually saying thank you for those things that I did want and you saw me and you walked me through it. That is favor. That, and when I say like the Lord blew my mind with this high level understanding of favor and how favor and grace have to pair together because it has to be a grace and understanding that this isn't the time for my child. This isn't the time for what they're asking for. If I give it to them, it will crush them. If I give it to them, it will hurt them. If I give it to them, they will squander it. So let me do some more work before I actually answer the prayer so that when they get it, they can hold it, they can treasure it, they can admire it, and they can see it for what I have actually called it to be, right? So there was that. So the other way that the Lord showed me that favor is growing in favor with God and man is also understanding that our seek is in the journey, our seek is in our prayers. So our prayers are not only making memorials and sticky notes, but our prayers are also releasing a new level of trust and understanding that the Lord has for us. This is the last time that you can walk in here. Hmm. I'm not ready yet. I'm gonna come and make my plate as soon as I'm done eating, okay? But thank you so much. I yeah, I will appreciate you. I thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So um bring it back, Holy Spirit. Okay. So our prayers and our tears are not only making a memorial in heaven and not just sticky notes, but it's also releasing a level of new understanding and a foundation for us in grace and favor with Him. It's like I have this issue. Good morning, Jasmine. I've had this issue. I don't know how to deal with it, so I'm bringing it to the Lord, right? And then when the Lord is like, "Oh yeah, she trusts me. Yeah, like come and bring it to me. Come and sit with me. Come and talk to me. I'm going to release this to you, right?" And then the Lord releases this new revelation and understanding that He has. And you're like, "Oh, okay." And then you apply it to the issue or the problem or the newness or whatever it is that you ask for. You take it and you apply it. And the Lord is like, yes, you did it. release some grace and favor, right? And then it's like, okay, you get to the next step and you're like, okay, I need a newer understanding. I need a newer thought process. And the Lord is like, okay, come back and sit with me. Let's talk about it. Let's seek some more. Let's do it this way. And we do it. And the Lord is like, okay, you're ready for this next step. You're ready for this next part. Boom, new release. And you're like, okay, and you take it and you work with it. And that's literally what the Lord showed me, that it's not necessarily just like, sometimes it can be a huge release of grace and favor, don't get me wrong. But he also showed me that it's in the gradual steps. It's in the gradual actionable steps where grace and favor are also released. And in those areas, or in that place where he chooses to release that, that is also when we see an uncovering of ourselves, right? Because like getting to know the Lord is getting to know us. So then we see ourselves as the person that the Lord has created us to be, as the way that the way that the Lord has called us to be. We see a new unearthing of our gifts and our authority, and an understanding of us that we didn't have before. And the Lord is like, yeah, because you're finding me, you're finding you, and because you're finding you in me, you're also seeing the favor that I have over your life, and how the favor is in withholding and giving, right? It's not just in the receiving, it's in the withholding. And then because we have more wisdom and more understanding when it comes to the things that you didn't let me have, and how gracious you had to be, and how much favor had to be on my life for you to not give that to me, I now have a newer understanding of how much you love me and how you truly care for me. And so when I say that the Lord was literally walking me through how it has to be a deeper understanding, or a deeper yada, like, of Him, in order for us to truly understand the breakdown of favor, the breakdown of grace, and the breakdown of how they both play a part, not just in the end result of us getting what we've asked for, but in every crucial step leading up to it. And how those fruits, or that could, or what could be a fruit from that, is trust, affection, and more understanding of Him, which leads to a better understanding of myself, which leads to a better understanding of my calling, which leads to a better understanding of who He's called me to be, which in turn also leads to a better understanding of my authority and what I can actually put my hand to the plow to do. And many of us are getting stuck because we only see favor as when we get what we want. And favor is much more than that. Favor is much more than actually receiving the thing that you have been praying for, whether it's been for years, whether it's been for months, whether it's been for days. Favor is so much more than actually just receiving the promise. Because every prayer that we have ever prayed, many of us have thought was a promise. And what we have actually prayed for without us understanding it is a potential for our downfall. Favor has to be much more than what we see it to be. And it works in its own integral system in itself, right? Because the Lord trusts me, because the Lord loves me, because the Lord is God and He has made covenant with me, then that means that what I want to see will happen eventually. But it will not be what I want when I want, but it will be greater than what I can imagine or think or see. And it's not because of who I am, but it's because of whose I am, and the favor that He has had from the beginning of my life up to now, working and moving intricately through the situations and hardships that caused me to seek Him. And when I sought Him, I saw myself differently. And because I saw myself differently, I was able to perceive Him differently. It is a knowing. It is a truer understanding of who God is. And then it's allowing Him to do all this work to break up all of this monotonous stuff that has come in to cause us to idolatrize the things of this world when they were meant here to just be resources for us. It means working through the issues and not being bound to those things that are only meant to serve us a purpose. I know one of the things that has been heavy and like for me has been dealing with emotions. Like the Lord has been knocking me upside my head how I deal with my emotions, how I process my emotions, and how what is a healthy process for aftercare when dealing with heavy emotions or dealing with attacks in my emotions. And the Lord is like, you better not pick up nothing to eat. You better not do it. You better not ever do it again. Like we're not going to idolatrize food. We're not going to idolatrize the things that I have put on this earth to be a resource to help you. Your body needs food to maintain. Your body does not need food to be the answer to why you can't cope with your emotions. Your body does not need alcohol or anything else. Alcohol or anything else to cope with emotions, right? Your body does not need an over exuding of yourself to cope with the things that I have given you and I have navigated well for you. Just use the example. And if you can't, once again, Jesus in therapy, let's pair them together and get it together. So he showed me that, right? And so, so yes, I'm just making sure, y'all. Okay. So, yes. So, how do we know, right? So, how do we seek the favor? We seek God through our hardships. And in the hardship, there is favor. In the walk we have with the Lord, there is favor. In the seek for the Lord, there is grace and favor. And then when He gives us the answer or we receive what we've been looking for, that is also favor. But understanding that there is a lot of stuff in between that is also favor, like not answering that first prayer, not answering that second prayer, not answering that third prayer, changing our mind to understand the fourth wasn't it either. Um, and then giving us the wherewithal to pray the right prayer after He has shown us how He has restored and translated that in our minds. That is favor, right? So then where does all of this lead us to, right? How can we grow favor? We have to grow. If we don't grow, favor can't grow within us. Just like we have to grow to understand life, we have to grow to have new knowledge and understanding. We have to grow for favor to grow. And so while we are growing favor with God, we are growing favor within ourselves. And while we're growing favor within ourselves, it's giving us a new understanding and a throat and authority to speak to the favor we have with men, right? The favor we have with man is based off of the favor we have and know we have with the Lord, but it causes our authority to then speak to those things and make them what we want them to see. We speak to those things until we see those things, right? And so, within us understanding that our authority is in our words and our authority is in us because of who we serve, and He has favor and has given us grace, and He has given us this authority because He loves us so much, then I'm able to speak to that thing and say, no, you will bow. No, you will stop. No, you will come forth. Or, no, you're not ready to receive this, but let's work on it. So, it has been this roller coaster this roller coaster of an understanding that the Lord has shown me. And then I was like, okay, but Lord, I'm gonna hop on. I'm gonna hop on with the saints, right? And I need an understanding to give them, right? And so Pete, because Pete this, this is gonna be it. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? The Lord took me to the scripture this morning. And I'm gonna read the scripture to you, right? I'm gonna read this one because yeah. Yeah, this one got me. So Genesis, the Genesis 2, right? I'm gonna read it in a few different translations, right? Genesis 2, verse 5. In KJV, it says, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground, right? In CSB, it says, no shrub of the field had yet grown on the land, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted, for the Lord had not made it rain on the land, and there was no man to work the ground. Right? Okay. Okay. Read it. Let's talk about it. The Lord showed me just in that, right? He showed me how he won't allow a problem or a need or anything to occur unless he's already prepped us for it. The Lord literally, like, there was herbs in the ground, there was fields in the ground, there was food, there was nutrients, there was all of that was already in the ground. It had already been planted, but he did not allow the rain to come because there was no one there to pick it up. There was no one there to receive that harvest, right? He withheld until the capable person was made, and then he sent rain for it to come up. So understand that if you're seeing or you're experiencing something in your life right now, it's not because you're not equipped. It's not because you're not ready. It's actually the opposite, that the Lord has allowed the rain or the thing to come and to nurture you, whether it's to chastise you, to push you, to make you submit, to make you bow, to strip some things off of your life, because it is now time for you to receive what is on the other side of that. He allowed it to come now so that you could reap the benefits after it, because you're ready, because you're here, and you're in a season where you can handle it, where you can receive it, where you can grab it and it's there. You are completely ready and you are completely prepared, because God is not going to allow growth if there is no one there who can till that ground. And even though, like, yes, there are things that the Lord allows to come, and then there are things that the enemy allows to come. But once again, I'm going to keep saying it until everybody catches it. Like, whatever has come, the Lord has allowed that thing to come, because we already seen in Job, like, the Lord is not going to allow things, like, things can't come unless the Lord allows it. So, like, let's just be clear on this. But things are coming now because it's your time to till the ground. Things are hitting your house now because it is time for you to till the ground. He would not have let it come. He literally would not have let it hit you unless it was your time to till the ground. So I'm going to use each and every instance that I got. So, like, if you're experiencing heartache, it's because it's time to till the ground. If you are experiencing financial issues or going through things, it's because it's your time to till the ground. If you are struggling with things in your mind, it's because it's your time to till the ground. If you are seeing wealth and abundance in your life, it's because it's time to till the ground. Because what's coming next after this, what is produced after this, it's going to be time for you to harvest it. And as we know, like, biblically, it says the wheat and the tare grow together until the Lord separates them. Understand, you are going to harvest whatever is inside of you. You are going to bring up whatever is inside of you, good and bad, and the Lord will do the deciphering as to what is needed and what is not. That is not for us to do. It is literally our job to seek, to grow, to find, to understand, to develop character and favor, for us to be able to receive what the Lord has for us. And it's that, and it's understanding the system that's in place for us to get it. It's not something that is on the end, but it's throughout. It is throughout the whole thing. The hardship produces the seek, produces the knowledge and understanding, produces the growth, produces the prayer and the pushing, produces the altars and the aromas of sweet things to the Lord, produces the end result. And the end result may look like we want it to. It may not look like we want it to, but it is the good thing that the Lord has for us. And this will be a process that we continue to process until we are no longer on this earth. But everything that we need is already stored up inside of us. It's just now time to unlock it. So if you are seeing these things in your life, even if you are being positioned in a different manner, as I very much so am in this season, whatever that looks like for you, right? You're equipped, you have favor to produce it. It's time for you to till your ground. It's time for you to speak to that thing. It's time for you to hear what the Lord is saying and to get rid of the things that do not need to be in your life. It's time for you to find the favor that is already in your face by finding God. And in return, as you find God, you will see yourself, you will see your character, you will have a new understanding of you, and that authority will cause you to speak favor with man. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all. That's all I had today. It was fun being here though. Y'all know I like chatting it with y'all. I really do. All right. I will see you guys next week. We have a phenomenal person coming up for next week. And until then, stay safe, live life, break the curses, be free.